The Lead. Sponsored by Hospital Discount Pharmacy, Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Greg Tinker, and I want to welcome you to The Lead. And I am excited today to have with us Anna Claire Harris, the new head volleyball coach at Curry High School. Anna Claire, welcome.
Thank you.
And talk to us a little bit about how that came about, that you are at 25 years of age, the head coach at Curry High School.
Yes, sir. So always knew I wanted to coach. Not sure what that would look like, through a process of the Lord working, COVID, college, got back to Jasper. And last year I was the assistant coach for the varsity team at Curry, and had coached a little bit a year or so before that, just as a volunteer coach, when Sage Beatty was there, and then he left. Dana Waldrop took over, and then she decided to transition out just with grandbabies coming, and so that was offered to me, and it was like no hesitation, absolutely none, to take the position. So super excited.
Well, I would
25,
say, I would say it's all fallen into place, and when I heard that, I was incredibly excited because I know who you are, I know your character, I know your work ethic, I know your abilities, and I was just thinking to myself, whoever and who all made that decision, and I know Mr. Woodley was involved in that.
Yes, sir.
And I was thinking, all right, you did good. So I'm excited for you, and I'm really excited for the team and for the school and the community. So you obviously, you're a sports person, so let's go back and talk a little bit about your growing up years and the things you were involved in sports related.
Yeah, so I'm the youngest of three, the only girl. Both of my older brothers ran, swam, one played tennis. So, not really big into football, baseball. They played a little bit of that, but being the only girl, I had to be, rough and tough to deal with them.
Right.
And so started playing basketball, played volleyball, park and rec age, but really softball was my main sport until about 7th grade. Transitioned into where I enjoyed basketball more, and honestly to this day that's probably my favorite sport, just because of the competitiveness and being able to be aggressive, but started playing volleyball as well, and played basketball and volleyball throughout middle school and high school. Played a little bit of tennis in middle school, transitioned out of softball, but basketball and volleyball were my main two all the way up through, and then played volleyball in college.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about that. You got an opportunity to play way down south, so
Yes.
Talk a little bit about college volleyball and the difference between college volleyball and high school volleyball.
There are a ton of differences. I remember being in high school, my brother ran track and cross country at Alabama, and when he started his freshman year, my mom was like, they always say it's a job. And I was like, no, it's not a job. I enjoy it. And you get to college and it's a job. You start preseason and it's, 2, sometimes we had like our first 3 or 4 days were 3-a-days. And so it was very stressful. It was kind of like a culture shock from high school. But I played club in high school as well, out of a club in Birmingham. Honestly enjoyed that. Was a different culture even from high school. But went to the University of Mobile, NAIA volleyball, played down there for 4 years. The difference is, I say it's a job. In high school, you're playing in the community you grew up in. You're playing with the girls that you grew up with. And so it's more, I say it's a family, but it really is just, it's a team, but you have each other's back, right? You grew up with them, you know them. You have a little bit more oomph when you're diving for a ball because you know your setter. You know the person that you're setting to. And so a lot of differences. Really enjoyed playing in college. Didn't know it would lead me back to coaching, but super excited for the opportunity. And like I said, high school is one of those things, even now I look back, I'm 25, and I say, high school volleyball was some of my best memories, playing with those kids that I grew up with, that I have known since kindergarten, first grade.
Yeah.
So.
Still in contact with some of your college teammates?
Yes, my best friend actually was originally from California. Going into freshman year, we had no clue who our roommates were. And I just sent out a mass text to the incoming freshmen. Still my best friend to this day. I was maid of honor at her wedding, and now she lives in Texas. I've got some that live in Florida, some still live in Mobile. And honestly, about 3 or 4 of the 5 that I'm still pretty close to are coaching in high school settings, which is really awesome to see. You know, just the impact from our college coach to say, hey, we're not only giving back in the sport of volleyball, but like in character, sharing our faith is really important to all of us that, you know, that are coaching.
Yeah, because University of Mobile is a Christian college.
Yes, yes.
And so you don't necessarily end up there accidentally, although, you know, if you're recruited in, you may not be a believer to begin with, but you might become a believer along the way.
Right. And that, you know, that was one thing. I had no clue where I was going to go to play. I knew I wanted to play. I'm 5'8", barely, but I was an outside hitter, and I knew I wanted to hit. But I knew I wasn't going to be able to go D2, D1, you know, and that was fine. I just wanted to play. And when I went to University of Mobile, I knew it was NAIA, had looked at their roster. I was about the same height as some of their other hitters. And so having that opportunity to grow in my faith was more important to me than volleyball, and still have, you know, mentors, 2 or 3 mentors that like made a magnificent impact on me, you know, one specifically athletically, one academically, and one really strong in my faith that I still talk to today.
So great relationship building experience.
Tons.
So you started out in education, changed to communications. Now you've ended up back in Walker County, and that's not unusual for, I think it used to be that incoming freshmen would change their major 3 times. I think now it's 33 times.
Yes.
So, so it's
probably too many.
It's typical. So, but talk about how you ended up back in Walker County and now in education where you started, but not necessarily what your degree's in, though you're working toward certification.
Right. So I initially going into college, since I was little, Alanda Key, I went to Memorial Park, and Alanda Key was always in the back of my head, elementary PE. You know, you have little kids, I've got tons of energy, I'm running around all the time. You're trying to get them to be active, whether that's, you know, running, skipping, galloping, or showing them basics of athletics, of basketball and football. And so Alanda Key was always in the back of my head. So going into my freshman year, I went in elementary PE. A little over halfway through, they said, hey, you're going to start centralizing into courses, and you're going to have to student teach. Well, I was involved in student life. I was an RA. I was playing volleyball. It was too much. So I ended up saying, hey, communication, public relations, I love relationship building. Let's do that. So switched my major probably more than halfway through my sophomore year, because I was still getting those basic courses, and had job opportunities in Mobile. COVID happened my senior year. So after spring break, everybody kind of dispersed. We came back to get our stuff, but that was it. And the job opportunities fell through. My father owns a business here in Jasper, so I came back and was living at home and working for him for that year. And that's when I volunteer coached at Curry under Sage Beatty. We got runner-up at state that year, actually, for volleyball. Fantastic group of kids, one of which is now one of my assistant coaches at Curry, Grayson Evans. So the Lord, I've said it from the beginning, the Lord is working even when I don't think he's working.
Sure.
One of my favorite verses, Romans 8:28. I had a Sunday school teacher one time that said, he works all things. Doesn't specify the good things or just the bad things, but he's working every single thing to your good. And that's something that I cling to. And now I look back and think, oh, so even though I said I'm never moving back, I love to travel, never moving back to Jasper, the Lord just opened door after door after door. I initially wanted to do elementary PE. Haley Moore gave me the opportunity to do that, and then had this job opportunity come open. So I can't really say much other than the Lord is sovereign.
Sure.
So.
And you're a willing and obedient disciple, and so disciples hear the call of God, or they see an open door, and then they walk through that. So that's what you've done, and that's where you are now.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk a little bit. You know your team now. because you were with them last year, and so now you've had them on your own for the summer leading up, and your first game or first match is pretty soon. So talk a little bit about the makeup of the team and your expectations for this year. And you're playing at 4A, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're 4A. So that preseason polls came out about a week and a half ago or so. We're in the teams to watch, so didn't break the top 10, but I have no doubt we'll hang with them. I've got 7 seniors. A lot of people say, whoa, 7 seniors, that's going to be, they work hard. More than half of them are hardly ever come off the court. Some of which, when I volunteer coached at Curry in 2020, had them on JV, actually, my libero right now, Aubrey Lackey. So, I've got hitters in that group of 7. I've got hitters, I've got middle, I've got a middle and outside, right sides. I've got both of my setters are seniors, my libero's a senior. So working towards, hey, I've got 7, we've got to make this count, but also I've got some coming up that are just going to, hardly miss a beat and fill in. Super excited. We actually changed, we have changed so many different things, and I know these girls are kind of culture shocked to that because, they played outside. Well, now we're moving them and they're playing in different positions. So trying to get the pieces to work right. But they're hard workers. I've told them from the beginning, the strongest get on the court and they battle every single day. They're consistent showing up at practice, consistent with positive attitudes. I know sometimes I'll get frustrated, you just, when you're coaching, you just let out a big,
Sure.
And they'll stop and realize, hey, it's time to get back to business. And so I have a solid group of kids, not just volleyball players, not just athletes, but they're just solid girls. And so they're super understanding, too, of this change for me, which has been very, very relieving because last year I was an assistant coach and now I've kind of, transitioned into the head coach role, and it's different. The standards are a bit different. And so creating a level of excellence where, hey, that pass was 2 to 3 feet in front of where your setter's supposed to be. It's not perfect. So we might run 2, 3 extra suicides, but they know that the level of excellence is high, and they strive to, succeed. So I'm excited.
Well, they see how hard their head coach is working at it, right? And that makes a difference.
Yes,
is your passion and your intent on excellence as a head coach carries over, and your level of care. And so, like you're saying, last year as an assistant, you're more sometimes moving over to put your arm around them
Right.
and say, it'll be okay. And you're kind of the bridge between the head coach and the player.
Right.
And now then there's got to be that fine line where before you might have been a little more of their friend, now you're a little more in authority, and that's kind of a delicate thing sometimes, but as you go along, you'll figure it out, and they will too.
Well, and that's the most difficult transition thus far for me has been. I was able to joke around, and now I'm still lighthearted and fun, but hey, when it's time to go, it's time to go. And there have been a few key girls that have caught those changes in mood, which has been awesome. But at the same time, I'm not going to say it's been easy at all. Super excited, but at the same time was a little bit timid at first. But I wouldn't have wanted another group other than the ones let's see, the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. I think right now I have in varsity. So
Sure. So your path, a little bit like mine in reverse. I graduated from Curry, came to the city school system, and taught and coached for 29 years in Jasper. So I really consider myself a Viking now. Anybody at Curry that's listening to this, don't hold that against me, okay? But my sweat and blood, for 3 decades is here. And so you were a Viking your whole life, and now you're with the Yellow Jackets, and so you'll bleed a little bit blue and gold now rather than black and gold. What does that feel like?
It's a little bit different. I mentioned my father owns a business. We've been here. My brother, I've got 2 older brothers, and that's all we've ever known. I've got cousins, that are in the city school system. And I actually played travel ball with a group we lived in the Farmstead area growing up. So I played travel ball with a group out of Curry. So played travel ball but then played school ball and everything in Jasper. So it's been a little bit different. I'm not going to lie. Some people will say, what are you doing? What are you know, but I'm happy where I'm at. You know, the transition to where the volunteer coaching fell into place, and then the coaching now fell into place. It's, I don't know if I can say it's home, you know, because home is still Jasper, but at the same time, I'm bleeding blue and gold.
Sure.
So I've enjoyed it. The community is awesome. One thing that can be said of the Curry community is that they support their kids, and they support their athletics. They support anything that those kids do. I've seen that in elementary, I see that in the middle school, and I see that in the high school. The community surrounds the kids, which I love. That's kind of where my heart has always been, is with kids. I always told my mom is the same way, loves kids. I always said, I'm not doing it. I don't know that I can. And here we are. So, it's been a weird transition. Not a lot of people go through that, but I'm loving where I'm at.
Sure. Well, where you invest your time and energy and your sweat and blood is where your heart will be also.
Right.
And the relationships that you're building with those girls and others. And so that transition, as you're there longer, and who knows how long your career will be there, maybe as long as mine was in the city system. God knows that right now, and
Yes.
He'll lead you where you need to go. So lastly, let's just talk a little bit about, and we did this before we started the interview, so you know what's coming when I ask you about your philosophy of coaching. And I've already said that as a young coach, when somebody would ask me that, and they'd say, well, you know, I started out at age 22. What's your philosophy? Well, I don't know what my philosophy is. Let's just play. Let's work hard and let's play.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're just starting out, but you've been around the game a long time. So what are some of the things you're trying to accomplish?
So, yeah, when you asked me that before we started, I thought, oh no, philosophy. I think back to coaches. Coach Tinker coached me, okay, in 8th grade basketball at Maddox Middle School. So Coach Tinker is one of those examples, and I'm not saying that because he's here, but Coach Tinker, Anna Barnett, basketball as well, Chuck Runyon, a coach that I played for club in Birmingham, fundamentals. You have a strong fundamental base, everything will fall into place. And so fundamentals, hard work, positive attitude. That's all I'll ask of my girls. You know, that expectation is high, but hey, if you know the why behind what you're doing, I think so many times kids grow up being told what to do. Hey, playing left back, you're transitioning, you go here. Well, guess what? When you get into high school, the ball is not coming to where you're at. The game is much more organic. So you've got to learn, just because I'm where I'm supposed to be doesn't mean you're where you're supposed to be. Right. And it's difficult to get that in their head, you know, if they haven't been taught from a young age, because they have those habits. So showing them that why are you doing what you're doing? I'll ask my girls all the time, why are you there? And they'll pause. Well, this is where I'm supposed to be, but why are you there? You know, my defense, I'm sure that they hate hearing me say this. My defensive players, you're on the side of the blocker's shoulder, come off of this. And so you're reacting and acting based off of everyone else on the court. You know, the back row is setting up in defense where the front row is lacking. And so you have to show them that there's a reason behind what you're doing. I'm not just telling you to be somewhere just to be in that spot because the ball's not coming there. So explaining the why behind the game has been probably my favorite thing when coaching, is explaining you're doing this because of this, and then building that volleyball IQ. Because a lot of kids, you just go out there and you play. Well, hey, I love to go out there and play. The majority of the time I do. And so you have to know why you're doing what you're doing. And that's been my, most favorite thing about coaching, learning how to coach, who I am as a coach as well, has been explaining that, fundamentals, hard work, and a positive attitude.
You've already touched on this, but your faith, what role does that play in your teaching in elementary school and now your coaching and life in general?
That's the basis, I think back to when I was in school and when I was in college, and I'm surrounded by, going into college, you're surrounded by all these different people. And as you mentioned, yes, I went to a Christian school. A lot of kids that I played with, were not believers. And I remember something that that one of my coaches in high school told me is you can't expect everyone to act like a believer if they're not believers. And the only way I've found for me to combat that is through relationship. So building a relationship with the kid, with the the other coaches, whatever, but mostly with the kids. I love volleyball and it's great, and I'm teaching you the game, but I want you to leave me with more knowledge that supersedes volleyball.
Sure.
It's not about being where you're supposed to be in defense every time. It is, am I giving them the tools that they need to succeed in life? And my faith is one of those for me. And so being that that's the center of my life, pushing that over, sharing that with the girls as, maybe it's not, here's the gospel, but living it every day.
Sure.
It's they hear it a lot. Kids don't like to listen, and I've learned that through relationship, through action, through example, that's where I'm comfortable sharing the gospel. That's where I've seen success thus far, and so that's kind of my philosophy on sharing my faith through coaching, and so I'm going to learn more as I go, and know that I don't have it all figured out. But as I said before, the Lord is sovereign, and that's the reason I'm where I'm at, and so I'm continuing to seek Him.
Anything that you find yourself saying that you picked up from a coach through your years that stuck with you and resonated, and so here you are repeating something that you heard over and over?
I almost daily explain that the game is much more mental than it is physical. I had a strength and conditioning coach that was one of my mentors in college, Taylor Lee Ledbetter, and she explained to me, I struggled a lot mentally when I played. I remember one time Coach Daniels, my senior year, he came in at Jasper, and I remember one time he pulled me off the court and was telling me, hey, you're playing inconsistent. And I thought, oh no. And I realized that everything that was happening in my head was happening when I was playing. It had nothing to do with physical, right? Because I knew how to pass the ball, I knew how to move my feet. And so thinking about Coach Daniels saying that, and then Coach Ledbetter mentioning, hey, you have to change your thought process. I tell my girls every single day, if you're talking out of your mouth, you can't be talking to yourself in your head, because you get into that mental, that tornado spin cycle in your head, you can't function. You can't pass the ball. And so that's probably the number one thing, and if my girls listen to this, they'll laugh, because that's all I ever say is it's mental. It's so much more mental than it is physical. And I'll continue saying it because it's true.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think you can see, for those of you who may not know Anna Claire, why she's going to be successful. I know her because, as she said, she was a student of mine and played ball for me, and so I know what a high character person she is, what a hard worker she is, what a great teammate that she was, and as a coach will be a teammate to her team in that regard. But everything about her is built for success. And so one of the things that we're asking all the coaches to do that will be part of our success is having your signature on our board. So if you'll take the marker and sign that, please, Anna Claire.
Does it matter
It does not.
where I go?
You can even write over somebody's name if you want to supersede them.
Oh, nah. I'll let them be. I'll let them be.
Well, Anna Claire, I just had to say what a great honor this has been and a great pleasure to sit down with you. And again, how excited I was when I heard that you were going to be the head coach at Curry. And again, my alma mater, so I'm very proud of that and look forward to you continuing the success that Coach Beatty had there and hoping for a state championship this year. But, you take it one game at a time. So just real quickly, when's the first match?
So we'll play on the 24th of August. We play in a tri-match with East Lawrence and Good Hope at Good Hope. But the following Saturday, so the 26th, we'll have one of the largest tournaments actually in the state at Curry. So we'll be doing the Smith Lake Classic. We'll have about 20 teams from across North Alabama coming to that. So it'll be a huge week for us. But as I said before, I have no doubt, my girls won't miss a beat. looking forward to breaking the top 10 within the next few weeks with those rankings, and hopefully headed to the Elite Eight at the end of the season.
Absolutely. Well, we hope that happens. Well, there you heard it. The 24th is the start of the season. The 26th, the big day at Curry High School. So get out and support the Lady Jackets, and make sure you say hello to Anna Claire and congratulate her. Coach Harris, good to have you on today.
Thank you.
This is Greg Tinker for The Lead saying good day.
The Lead. Sponsored by Hospital Discount Pharmacy, Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.